This is my grandpa's talk show.
Hello and welcome to Nature Talk News, brought to you by James from the Sunshine State of Southwest Florida. Where there's nature, there's news.
Okay, we're on the air.
Oops, sorry, I didn't know that.
Blooper. All right, and welcome to our show this week. And we have a request from Skincare Talk Radio. And if you'd like to know more about what Skincare Talk Radio is, we will put the website, the YouTube channel and all that on our show notes, where you can find it at the end of the show or while you're listening to the show even. So, all right, then what our request was for this week was the world's most endangered animal habitats.
Very good.
Very good. I have a hard time saying habitats. Habitat. Also, we're going to do the top 10 countries that are killing the planet. All right. We got our information off of the internet, of course, because I don't know a whole lot about it. So here we go with what we found out. The world's 6 most endangered animal habitats, and that is by Rachel Cernansky from Planet Green. And she says that the reasons that animals get to be on the endangered list are many and complex, but habits and lack of safe refuge have a lot to do with it. The Gulf of Mexico, for example, has been too cold for the manatees who usually live there, and the mammals have instead been turning up in the warm waters of power plant discharge canals. More than 300 manatees, mammals whose immune systems are weakened in the cold, swam into the discharge of the Tampa's electric Big Bend power station in Florida, reported by the BBC. So we're going to go through this little list here, and the first one is Central Africa. And Central Africa's mountain gorillas might win for the world's most dangerous habitat. And between habitat destruction and ongoing conflict in the region, their population has brought to the brink of extinction, with no place to go for refuge. And the world's only remaining mountain gorillas living in the mountainous region spanning Uganda, Rwanda, and the domestic
Democratic Republic.
Democratic. I didn't tell nobody. I brought my wife on the show because she is my interpreter for these words that I can't pronounce.
And forgive me if I say them wrong. I'm just saying them the way I've heard them before.
There you go. We're going to make it interesting and try to pronounce the words the way they are supposed to be. The Democratic Republic of Congo, to the list of reasons to stop the conflict in that region, which means taking a little responsibility for the role our gadgets play in perpetuating it. Wow. It's been a long time since I've been in school there to learn how to pronounce these words. Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is really surfing, not only
suffering. Good going.
Let me start that over. I don't. The Great Barrier. We're not going to leave the bloopers out. We're going to leave them in there. It makes the show longer. We have fun doing this show. I mean, this is our hobby, and we enjoy it. The Great Barrier Reef is really suffering, not only because of climate change, but also because of runoff from the coast of nutrients, fertilizers, pesticides, sewage, and oil. It's putting the delicate balance of life in the world's largest reef system in serious jeopardy. Yay, I got through that one.
All right.
Gulf, you want to read one?
No, you go ahead.
Gulf of Aden. The waters where Somali pirates often strike are also home to plenty of marine life, including many coral species, the crown butterfly fish, which is found only in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, and thousands of sea turtles, Female turtles have been tagged and identified as nesting in South Yemen, and then recaptured in
Somalia.
Okay. More than 2,000 kilometers away. We're getting right along with this.
There you go.
Forest of Indonesia. So I knew that word.
There you go.
Okay.
The orangutans.
I pronounced that word a while ago when I was practicing these things. The orangutans in Indonesia are running out of space to go too. Logging operations. And the global demand. See, I'm doing now. No.
Demand for palm oil have nearly wiped out the territory these primates call home. And social conflicts have been on the rise, reports the ecologist. Okay? As people who depend on forests for their livelihoods are being forced to change their way of life.
All right. Madagascar. Madagascar is just a DreamWorks film. It's a real-life...
Madagascar is not just a DreamWorks film.
Well, now you're arguing with me over it.
You said it was. It says it is not.
Well, I just left one word out. Madagascar is not just a DreamWorks film. It is a real-life ecological. We're doing this show on the spur of the moment, so I didn't really even read through this yet, and I'm reading it on fonts of 11, so I could have made it a little bit bigger. All right. Logging operations and the global demand for palm oil.
Hey, you went up one. You're on Madagascar now. We're doing good.
We might have to really chop this one up. Okay, Madagascar. Madagascar is not just a DreamWorks film. It's a real-life ecological wonderland. But it's under threat from the I got these wiggly lines under all this because something's not printed right, and it's showing me that it's a mistake. So it's hard to read on mine. Yours doesn't do that, does it?
No.
Okay. All right. Madagascar is not just a DreamWorks film. It's a real-life ecological wonderland. But it's under threat from the usual suspects. Deforestation, erosion, exploitation of resources, including hunting and people collecting wild animals, and introduction to alien species. This is not
exhaustive list, of course.
This is not an exhaustive list, of course. Species are being pushed from their mountaintops, habitats, and plant species, and threatened in just about every country in the world. Okay, there you have that. I'm going to redo some of this. Okay, now as we go into the top 10 countries killing the planet, the environmental crisis currently gripping the planet are the corollary.
Now that one I can't say.
Corollary.
Okay.
Are the corollary of excessive human consumption of natural resources. This is considerable and mounting evidence that elevated degradation and loss of habitats and species are compromising
ecosystems
that sustain the quality of life for billions of people worldwide, says Corey Bradshaw, leader of a new study by the University of Adelaide's Environment Institute in Australia that has ranked most of the world's countries for their environment impact. The study evaluating the relative environmental impact of countries used 7 indicators of environmental degradation, natural forest loss, habitat conversion, marine captures, fertilizer use, water pollution, carbon emissions, and species threat. Unlike existing rankings, this study deliberately avoided human health and economic data and instead focused on the environmental impact only. Other variables: bushmeat harvest, coral reef habitat quality, seagrass loss, freshwater habitat degradation, illegal fishing, invertebrate threat patterns, and some forms of greenhouse gas emission were excluded due to a lack of country-specific data. I'm going to let you start reading this here in a little bit.
My eyes are jumping.
2 rankings were created: a proportional environmental impact ranking, where impact is measured against total resource availability, and an absolute environmental impact ranking, which measures total environmental degradation at a global scale. Listed here are the top 10 worst offending countries for absolute environmental impact. Those are just doing the most damage regardless per capita calculations. This study, in collaboration with National University of Singapore and Princeton University, found that the total wealth of a country was the most important driver of environmental impact. We correlate rankings against 3 socio-economic variables: human population size, gross national income, and government quality, and found that the total wealth was the most important explanatory variable in the richer in a country. The greater its average environmental impact, Professor Bradshaw said, there is a theory that as wealth increases, nations have more access to clean technology and become more environmentally aware so that the environmental impact starts to decline. This wasn't supported, he said. Okay, Dan, we're going to start at the top 10 countries and work our way down to the number 1. Number 10 is Peru. Although Peru hardly seems capable of harmful environmental impact that larger industrialized countries are capable of, the South America country ranking number 10 overall of countries creating negative environment impact. Of 179 countries, Peru ranks 2nd for the marine capture and 7th for threatened species. Overfishing and illegal trade of endangered species seem to be culprit. Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, which is CITES, lists 10 animal species as critically endangered, like the short-tailed chinchilla, the last step before extinction, 28 as endangered and 99 as vulnerable in Peru. Number 9, about 11.5% of the total land area of Australia is protected, which leaves a lot left, although much of it is arid desert for unbridged usage, which is how the country ranked 7th worst in habit conversion. It also ranked 9th for fertile use and 10th for natural forest loss. Doing all right?
Well, you said habit instead of habitat, and you said fertile instead of fertilizer.
Number 9 is Australia. About 11.5% of the total land area of Australia is protected, which leaves a lot left, although much of it is arid desert, for unbridled usage, which is how the country ranks 7th worst in habitat conversion. It also ranks 9th for fertilizer use and 10th for natural forest loss. Number 8, less than half of Russia's population has access to safe drinking water. While water pollution from industrial sources has diminished because of the decline in manufacturing, municipal waters increasingly threaten key water supply sources, and nuclear contamination poses immense problems for key water sources as well. Landing Russia in 4th place for the worst water pollution, Russia ranks 5th in worst CO2 emissions. Air quality is almost as poor as the water quality, with over 200 cities often exceeding Russian pollution limit. The country ranks 7th for marine capture. Number 7 is India. According to the Wall Street Journal, in an effort to boost food production, win farmer votes, and encourage the domestic fertilizer industry, the government has increased its subsidy of urea fertilizer over the years and now pays about half of the domestic industry cost of production. The overuse of urea so degrading the soil that yields on some crops are falling, landing India in 2nd place for environmental impact due to fertilizer use. India ranks 3rd for water pollution as increasing competition for water among various sectors, including agriculture, industry, domestic drinking energy generation, and others, is causing this precious natural resource to dry up, while increasing pollution is also tending to the destruction of the habitat of wildlife that lives in the waterways. India becomes 8th for another 3 areas: threatened species, marine capture, and CO2 emissions. 6 is Mexico. Mexico holds more species of plants and animals than just about any other country, 450 mammals. Brazil, which is more than twice Mexico's size, has only 394 mammals, about 1,000 birds, 693 reptiles, 285 amphibians, and more than 2,000 fish. As the mid-1990s, many species were known to be already threatened: 64 mammals, 36 birds, 18 reptiles, 3 amphibians, and about 85 fish. Mexico did not join the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, the CITES, the chief international agreement to stop trade in threatened and endangered plants and animals, in effect since 1975 until 1991, the last Latin American nation to do so. It's perhaps because these factors that Mexico ranks first for threatened species. One of many reasons. The country ranked 9th for national forest loss. Japan's number 5. Japan ranks 4th in marine capture. By 2004, the number of adult Atlantic bluefin tuna capable of spawning had dropped to roughly 19% of the 1975 level in Japan, which has quarter of the world's supply of the 5 big species of tuna: bluefin, southern bluefin, big eye, yellowfin, and albacore. After the moratorium on commercial whaling in 1986, Japanese government started its whaling for research purpose the following year, which has resulted in documented cases of scientific whale meat and ending up on sashimi platters. Japan ranked 5th for both natural habitat conversions and water pollution, and 6th for CO2 emissions. Indonesia, number 4. According to the Global Forest Watch, Indonesia was still densely forested as recently as 1950, yet 40% of the forests existing in 1950 were cleared in the following 50 years. In round numbers, forest cover fell from 162 million HA to 98 million HA2. I don't understand what that means, but for this, Indonesia ranks 2nd in natural forest loss, which probably has something to do with their taking 3rd place for threatened species. Indonesia is ranked 3rd for CO2 emissions, 6th for marine capture, 6th for fertilizer use, and 7th for water pollution. 3 is China. China's coastal waters are increasingly polluted by everything from oil to pesticides to sewage, helping China earn its 1st place ranking for water pollution. In China, 20 million people lack access to clean drinking water. Over 70% of lakes and rivers are polluted, and major pollution incidents happen on a near daily basis. The World Health Organization recently estimated that 100,000 people die annually from water-polluted related illnesses. China isn't doing much better in terms of overfishing. They take 1st place for marine capture. Add to that 2nd place for the CO2 emissions and 6th place for threatened species, and we can see how China takes the bronze for the most environmental impact. Chinese environmental protection agencies lack sufficient authority, financial resources, and manpower. When there are conflicts between environmental protection and economic development, the former often loses to the latter. Number 2 is the USA. You'd think with all the smarts and resources this country has, it would rank a bit better than number 2. Afraid not, although it did rank a respectable 211 for natural habitat conversion, that honor is pretty much negated by the country's abysmal rating in other areas. Rising in first place for fertilizer use, this country's excessive application of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium fertilizers can result in the leading of these chemicals into water bodies and remove, alter, or destroy natural habitats. USA also ranks first place for CO2 emissions, second place for water pollution, third place for marine captures, and ninth place for threatened species. Not feeling all that proud to be an American at that moment. Number 1 is Brazil. In all 7 categories considered for the report, Brazil ranked within the top 10 for all but marine capture. First place for marine forest loss, third place for natural habitat conversion, third place for fertilizer use, fourth place for threatened species, fourth place for CO2 emissions, and eighth place for water pollution. What's to account for the areas of intense environmental impact? A large portion of deforestation in Brazil can be attributed to the expansion Amazon rainforest, land clearing for pasture land by commercial and speculative interests, misguided government policies, inappropriate World Bank projects, and commercial exploitation of forest resources. Soy and cocoa crops, as well as cattle ranching, have had a far-reaching effect. While in the Atlantic forest of Brazil, some of the world's most diverse ecosystems have been converted to fast-growing plantations, mostly non-native eucalyptus, for paper pulp. The proportional index, which takes into consideration the impact and proportional to the resources available in the country, ranks these as the top 10 countries creating the most negative environmental impact. The proportional index, which takes into consideration the impact as proportional to the resources available in the country, ranks these as the top 10 countries creating the most negative environmental impact. Singapore, Korea, Qatar, Kuwait, Japan, Thailand, Bahrain, Malaysia, Philippines, and Netherlands. According to the study from which both of these rankings were taken, continued degradation despite decades of warnings. Tina, did you understand any of that?
No.
Oh, I didn't either. Anyway, well, I don't know what else to say about we give you the 6 most endangered animals habitats, and we try to give you the top 10 countries that's killing the planet, but I hope that's somebody understood some of what we said.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
That's our show. This is the fun part of just on the spot, I mean, we just threw this together and said, let's do it. And so we sat down and we tried to do it. Anyway, how's everybody doing out there? All of you listeners, I mean, we've got people that's been listening to this show for a while, and you know this is not the way we do it.
Except for tonight.
Except for tonight, so
it'll get better.
Oh yeah, it has to. Maybe we ought to jump back to something more simple, like
we'll stick to things that we understand.
Yeah, reading it out of some articles and stuff. There's words in there that really, I mean, even if we could pronounce them right, we don't know what it means.
See, that's my biggest problem. When I read something, it doesn't quite sink in. If I hear somebody talking about it, I get it.
Right.
But reading it, it just doesn't seem to sink in what's going on.
Yeah.
I always had a problem with comprehension in reading.
Yeah. That's bad. We got most radio shows, people know what they're saying. It's just like they learned all these words in high school.
Well, it's like a lot of the words I can pronounce, and I know where they're talking about, but I have no idea actually what all of this is about.
I can't even pronounce the lady's name that requested this, and I just saying that I don't know. I'm not even going to try it because I know she's going to come back and say that's wrong. But anyway, this request was from Skincare Talk Radio. Like I said, we're going to put all the links and stuff to her radio talk show on the notes, and you can go up there and check it out. We're going to try to get her on our sister show, James Chandler show. So this is what it's about, you know. I mean, we try to get this radio show out on Nature Talk News to make it interesting for people. And I'm going to do some editing on this. You won't know it because I'm not going. Some of this I'm going to edit. I don't want everybody just laughing about it.
There you go.
So anyway, we hope everybody enjoyed it. I didn't.
It was too hard to read. My eyes were jumping. I couldn't see, and some of the words I didn't.
Well,
let's
talk about here in Florida. I mean, you know, we got sea turtles that are endangered. I mean, people are digging them up and hitting them with baseball bats or whatever, everything else.
We got the gopher tortoises too that are endangered.
Yeah, and the panther's still endangered.
Right.
They're trying to take it off the endangered list, but they keep the number keeps falling on it. You know?
Every time they turn around, one's getting hit or something.
Right. So, you know, I mean, there's all around the world. We can't possibly do the endangered habitats all around the world, but in our area, like I said, you know, I'm sure New York is a lot different. That's just like here, the bear. You know, they're legalizing the bear hunt now.
Yeah.
And it costs if you're a resident of Florida, it's $100 for one bear. And if you're a non-resident from another state and you come down here, it costs $300 for a permit to hunt one bear.
There you go. That they do. They make money off of tourists.
But they're doing that to cut the population down because the bears is getting
They're
so
starving.
bad. They're hanging around schools.
You know why, though? They're doing that because of all the people who are cutting down all the woods and stuff for things like more housing and more golf courses and things that, you know, we really don't need.
Oh, but, you know, we have fun down here with our animals.
I love our animals.
Yeah. The raccoons are slowed down there. We had like, what, 7 or 8?
7 or 8 of them all the time. Now we got 2 or 3.
Yeah.
They're all staying pretty well hidden now that she's come back.
I haven't seen a rattlesnake yet, and that's the one thing I don't want to see.
No. The smallest one I saw was 3.5 foot long, and they're big around. They're not little skinny things. And the other one was like 5 foot, 5.5 maybe.
We're seeing less frogs because one day the poor frog couldn't outrun the snake.
Oh, I wanted to grab that poor frog out of that snake's mouth
That
so
snake
bad.
had a hold of that frog, and he was just waiting for that frog to die so he could digest it. And the frog got away. And we was, 3 feet from it
Yeah.
while that snake was laying there.
It kept shaking its tail at me like I was supposed to get scared or something. I just looked at it and laughed and kept taking pictures.
Keep taking pictures.
Don't give up on us. We're not going to be this bad all the time.
No. Well, you know, listeners know that. I'm glad that I just hope the people for the first time that listen to it listen the whole show to where they could hear how exciting we are toward the end of it. Anyway, until the next show, this is James and Tina. See ya.
For more information about Nature Talk News, you can email us at naturetalk@outlook.com, or you can visit our website at naturetalknews.com, and there you can send us a message or you can send us a voice message. Also, you can listen to each one of our episodes straight from this page. Share this with a friend and let us know what you think of our Nature Talk News show.